As if Scareclaw wasn't already the scariest deck in Yu-Gi-Oh, we now have new support thanks to Darkwing Blast, so let's check it out in this deck profile. Yo, what's going on guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're doing a deck profile for Scareclaw with Darkwing Blast. We're going to talk about some of the key cards that the deck now has thanks to the new support, and also a little bit about what they do. And I've already shown gameplay of what these cards are capable of, and I'll link those on the screen so you can watch those. And that being said, let's get straight into it. So the first thing I want to start off with is talking about our Scareclaw line. We've got two Scareclaw right card over here. Scareclaw right card is amazing on summons such as a Scareclaw spell or trap. And if there are 3 or more defensive monsters anywhere on the field, you draw an extra card, which is really good. So Visa Starfers, of course, I'm still running it as a one-off. This thing as a one-off, it does the job. Obviously, this card and this card links into Baron very easily. You can see the level 6 tuner, the level 4 monster. Visa Starfers is great, and with more support that we get, thanks to, you know, the Terror Element, the Visa storyline, he becomes even more important and potentially a 2 of or even a 3 of. Next up, we're going to run, of course, Scareclaw Acro, giving the extra monsters on Scareclaw Link Monster 300 attack for each defense monster on the field, which does stack. So if you have 2 on the field, you're getting a lot of damage in. And if you have the piercing guy, you're definitely going to win that game. We're going to run 3 Balone because we just need all the Scareclaw names. Are low-key underrated, and again, gives piercing damage to any Scareclaw Link monster in the extra monster zone. Probably my favorite potentially is Astra, giving the Scareclaw in the extra monster zone mostly try hard multiple attacks depending on each different name the Scareclaw. Because the Scareclaw names have to be in defense position, that means we only have 4 names we can really apply that to. But in Fortune Hypernova, we get the new Kashtira Scareclaw monster, which adds like another name and potentially makes Tryhard even stronger. But for now, we got 4, and really 3 is just enough, or 2 really. And that's it for the Scareclaw engine. It's very standard, you know, 3-3-3, 2-1. We don't see a right card too much because we do have Small World and other applications, and we don't really, it's not a card we want to see. The main reason being we are running the Adventure line. The Adventure line is great with this deck, of course, having only 2 monsters that clash with it, which are the right card, which is something you search at the end of your combo anyway, means we can take full advantage of the Adventure line, you know, creating disruption, creating advantage, creating a negate. So our Scareclaw combo works perfectly. Having that Draco back is great. And speaking of Draco back, we're going to talk about the monsters. That is the Griffin Rider and the Illegal Knight. I think Illegal Knight has a really good spot in the meta, and being able to bounce Terror Element monsters or be able to bounce like runic stuff is really key. Still, the same package, Magician Souls, you know, ultimately this deck is very much similar to what I've posted before, but we're just using the new cards. I think the saying is, you know, if it's not broke, don't fix it kind of thing. And this deck seems to work really well, so I'm just keeping the ratios we had. Of course, the second Souls comes up with the Small World, but also, you know, it's a decent target to go into the Link Karibo if you're playing that, and as well as, you know, being an extra body that you can climb into your tryhard. We're running 3 Parallel Exceed because we are a link based deck and we need those extra bodies on the field in case we need to make tryhard in an awkward way, so that's why he's there. And then some really cool, I want to say, you know, smaller targets, but also just cards that have a huge impact in the game. Kurikara is searchable in anything with Small World, but also going second, it's an amazing card. You know, tributing what's on the field to special summon itself, not causing their effects to happen, like Terror Elements for example, and then being able to special summon one of the end phase just means you can really close out games thanks to this card. Fenrir, we have to talk about Fenrir, of course. Fenrir is probably the hottest card in the game right now, the most talked about card, one of the scariest cards as well. It's very hard to make this card, you know, break, so to speak. It's always live, but I'm only running out 1, which is obviously interesting. You're probably thinking, why is that? I just don't have the second copy. But you could proxy, well, you could count this Archfiend Eccentric as the second Fenrir, or, you know, mix and match. If you have more than 1 Fenrir, I'd say throw it in. Archfiend Eccentric is just respecting backroad decks, respecting Mystic Mine, respecting Runic. You know, it's that card that can be searchable of Small World, but also can help you in a pinch. So similar notion to what we're talking about with Fenrir. These, in my opinion, should be the Bestial Magnamuts. I'm literally just getting them. Speaking of Magnamut, I did pull the Bestial Lebellion from my local, so that means I can probably get my Magnamuts now. But in the meantime, we are running the Crows and the Druid Worm. Guys, I've played against the new tournament stuff, and it's just insane what they can do. So we need the anti-tournament cards more than ever, basically. And until I get Magnamuts, I'm running the Crows. And I'm also going to run the Druid Worm because, well, I actually pulled it. Druid Worm's really cool though, because when it sends to graveyard, for example, a link material, target special monster on the field, send it to the graveyard, which in a pinch is really helpful. And that's the monster lineup. What I want to do is just give an update, give a refresh to the deck. Thanks to Darkwing Blast, we've got some really cool cards, which I'll go into soon. I think the Bestial cards and the Fenrir cards really give this deck an edge. Being a small word bridge non-stop means anything in the deck is searchable, and I think that gives a lot of, you know, power spike to the deck. Moving on to the spells now. So We're running 2 of the field spell still. The reason being, I don't think anything has changed. Yes, we have new cards, but that does mean we need more ratios of the field spell. And the reason why is, boom, there we go. Scareclaw decline. Being able to add a Scareclaw field spell from the graveyard to hand is amazing, really. If it's in the grave, if 3 or more defense monsters are on the field, you can banish it and add a Scareclaw card, not monster, card from your grave to your hand. So you can actually add your Omni Negate to hand. You can add a copy of Tri-Heart if your, turn 1 board or turn 2 board didn't go so well and you need the second one for follow-up OTK potential. Or you can add the Light Heart or any Scareclaw, you name it. So I think this card is really good and enables the OTK because of that grave effect. And we're going to talk about some other Scareclaw cards here. Scareclaw Rival, I'm still running as a 1-of. I think in a pure version of the deck, maybe a deck that's more focused on going second potentially, I think a Rival has a good place as a 2-of. But I'm still running as a 1-of for now, and I think its main use is, again, just to extend into that Tri-Heart pretty much. But being able to spread some Visa Starfrost has amazing capabilities, and I think down the road we may see this going to 2. But at the moment, I'm gonna keep it at 1. Finally as well, because it's a non-once per turn, again, another reason why it might have to bump up to 2. Scareclaw Splash, that's always a tongue twister. This card is, this card represents a lot for the deck. It's an out to Darkling No More, it's an out to Forbidden Droplets, arguably. And just a really annoying negate that people have to deal with pretty much. And being able to add it again, being able to add it back with the Scareclaw decline means you can activate it twice, which is nice. And why we run it as a 1-of, you might think it's a negate. Why do we run it as a 2-of? Well, you can search it and really all you need is that one negate. The game is so fast paced nowadays that if you're not able to stop the opponent's board, it's possible you're going to get OTK'd anyway. So we don't want to break too much just by running a 1-of. Scareclaw Twinsaw, one of my favorite cards to come out of Scareclaw. I wish this card was a super rare. Being able to pop 2 cards on the opponent's field, and if you can draw Visa Starfrost, they get banished instead. The cost, I believe, is targeting your own card, your own Scareclaw card, so keep that in mind. The reason why this card changes the way Scareclaw is going to be played is, one, it has that disruption effect, which is really cool. We've seen that with Sword Soul Blackout, and we all know how scary that card is. Basically, it does trigger Tournament, which is really awkward. So maybe try and get your Visa Starfrost on the board before you do it, which may link into having a second copy of this. I think the best thing about Twinsaw is the fact its graveyard effect can literally be a lingering floodgate negation for link monsters. It's basically Abyss Dweller, but for link monsters. If you control a link-free monster, or if a link-free monster is on the field, banish this card. Remember, it's a trap, so it's a quick effect. Banish this card, and then you can go ahead and basically just negate link monster effects for the rest of the turn. And the reason why this card is so good is because Tri-Heart's effect to put things in defense is not an activate effect. So essentially, you're not stopping that card, you're stopping everything else. You're stopping the Sprite Elf, you're stopping the Sprite Sprint, for example. I think this card has a lot of applications in the Sprite matchup, which, arguably was our, in my opinion, was the scarier matchup because of the resources they would get. So now we have a way to deal with those guys. We have a way to deal with Mathmeg. We have a way to deal with a lot of stuff in the game. Arguably Tournament, because they do play link monsters as well. One thing I would say is running 2 traps can be strange. So I would argue maybe siding one of them is the best bet. And next we're gonna be talking about some of the adventure spells. So of course, standard ratios: 3 rights, 1 Faithful Adventure, 1 Draco back. I don't think we need anything more, anything less. And speaking of seeing them as much as possible, we're running the small worlds. Because of these new monsters we're running, the Magnamut, the Fenrir, the Druid Worm, it makes you think it's small should be bumped up to 3, because what I've started to realize, what I've done in my testing, is Fenrir's a level 7, it's an Earth monster. You can probably see the cogs turning in my brain right now, because that means we can search for adventure monsters and we can search for Scareclaw monsters, which is, pretty nice. And then we're going to run some other power spells. We're running 2 Forbidden Droplets and a Call by the Grave. I really like my 2 ratios for droplets. I don't think we should be seeing this card too much. Now, before I wrap up, before I move on to the extra deck, I really wanted to talk about Tri-Brigade Airborne Assault. So apologies guys, that card is definitely in this deck, without a doubt. I ordered mine like a month and a half ago and they just haven't arrived. So it's one of those things where, I wasn't able to show in the deck profile. What you bring out from the deck has to be a different type. But that's fine, because one, you have Tri-Heart as a target to bring out the Griffin from the deck, which is really, really funny. The other target you have is Reborn Tengu, a card I'm testing, but I didn't decide to put in this deck because I'm not confident in it just yet. But I guess what I'm trying to say is there's so many ways to extend now things with that card. And remember, you can also target the Light Heart to bring out the level 3 Scareclaws, and makes for, again, very easy extenders. And because the deck is purely link based right now, at least in this build, you never worry about the drawback of Airborne Assault. Moving on to the extra deck. Starting off, we're playing the Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. In a link-based deck, you want to run this card. It just helps you out problematic monsters like the Tournament Rule Kalos potentially, which stops your adventure guys from summoning. And, is a card we can sneakily get past well, annoying cards in the game. Any link based deck should be playing these cards, more so the access code than the Applause Above the Goddess. Something I'm trying out right now is World Sea Dragon Zelantis, and I'll put the Avramax here as well. So it's a very unexplored card right now. It literally came out on Friday. It's a staple in my Drexler deck. Again, if you want to watch that video and learn more about what World Sea Dragon Zelantis can do, I'll link that video in the description. You can reset the whole board, and then everything gets special on back to the board, and you get to choose the bout positions, which is really interesting, which you know, helps with the OTK, but also you can do some really cheeky stuff where you reset the Scareclaws, reset the monster in the extra monster zone to put it in the regular zone, which again gives you that, you know, synergy where Lightheart needs to be summoned in the EM zone to search the field spell, and the same can be said for Tri-Heart. So I think it's got really nice applications, and being able to go into any link 4 into Zelantis, because it literally just needs one material, makes this card really cool. Tri-Heart is amazing, does everything, is so easy to OTK. I'm actually surprised sometimes how crazy this card can get, and the ceiling potential of it. With Scareclaw Decline in mind, I think this card just gets even more aggressive, even more scary. And then some link 2s we're running. These are the only link 2s that I think are worth running. We're running the Cherubini because we need to send the Temple if we want to get our Adventure Line going. If you get hand trapped in a very awkward way, we can do that and still save some of our turn 1. But also, you know, with Hulk gone, I think it's a decent card to add in, really. And I'm debating whether to run the Psychic level 3 package of E-Telly, but that might be a story for another video. For the rest, you know, IP again, IP Avramax, any link deck needs IP. Dark Charmer is great because the whole deck is dark basically, and you can steal all of the tournament monsters. I would argue this could be a different Charmer like the Earth one, but we might have to see if that really makes sense in the Maven's meta. We are running the Runic Unicorns and Link 3. We are running the Link Spider and the Link Karibo. Now, in my previous build, I was talking to people in the comments about whether Link Karibo is necessary. I like having that option to enable the Parallel Exceed, and because Tri-Heart doesn't care about what type of monsters or how many quantity of the monsters are used as material, you can do Link Reaper and 2 Exceeds and go into Tri-Heart. Some options are the Super Poly package, of course removing a card like this and any other Link monster you think is not necessary. And then to round it off, we're running the Scareclaw Lightheart, one of the scariest cards in Scareclaw, and what basically makes the deck go from 0 to hero in my opinion. And there we go guys, that's been the extra deck in the main deck for Scareclaw. But some cards that come to mind are the Winter Cherries, of course running the Sprite Elf and the Kit Kalos to be a bit more anti-meta. But guys, with that being said, thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile. If you want me to do a combo test hand or a dual commentary video, let me know in the comments down below. And with that being said guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.